Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharidhari Jai. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharidhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharidhari. Gopi Janavallabha. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jaisacinandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jamuna Tira Vanacharim. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare. Jaya Radha, Radhanath, Radha, Radhanath, Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura Hare. Nitya Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radharanath ki, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari ki, Shri Panchatattva ki, ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Krishna book ki jai. Transcendental purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jnanatimirindasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindhavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Aripre Vanchakalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyahevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Krishna 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 Hey Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna paimam, Krishna paimam, Krishna paimam, Rakshamam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for, it's quite a bleak day today. Temperatures have dropped, it's chilly, but thank you nevertheless for making an effort to come to your about Krishna. So this chapter is chapter 38. Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan. So Akrura is being dispatched by Kamsa, and this is after the birth of Krishna, and Krishna is living somewhere in Gokul. According to Kamsa, he's heard about it. We heard from reliable sources that Krishna is alive. Is one of the eight children, which was the that came from the sky, isn't the omen from the sky after Devaki. Kamsa was driving the chariot of Devaki, and this ominous voice from the sky said, Krishna, Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister, but you don't know the hate child was going to kill you. And so Kamsa, when he heard that, he was kind of horrified, and of course we know he wanted to immediately cut off the head of his sister, just hearing that. So, and Vasudeva had to pacify him, in a very diplomatic way, speak very philosophical about life, and so Kamsa somehow simmered down, but he had them arrested, put them in prison, subsequently waiting for the children to be born, and as he was going to annihilate them child by child. And according to Vasudeva, had promised him that he would do that. But somehow Krishna and Balaram, they evaded that, and so Kamsa was very perturbed, and he dispatched demons, and we know all the demons that we read so far that Kamsa was sending to Vrindavan, to Putana, Vyamasura, Denakasura, Agasura, Aristasura. All these were very powerful demons. But still, Krishna, he as a little boy, he showed all his potency as God, that this is God, and and he could do amazing things. So Kamsa did not rest on his, he was contemplating how Kamsa was thinking of Krishna all the time. Now there's two understandings of, doing favorable services, that we think of Krishna all the time in a favorable way, isn't how we can engage in devotional service and hear about Krishna's wonderful pastimes. And another type of is unfavorable, thinking of Krishna, how we can get rid of him. So Kamsa was thinking like that, day in, day out, contemplating, is having nightmares. So anukul, pratikul, there's two understandings. Pratikul means unfavorable. Kamsa was thinking of Krishna, but in a unfavorable way, like demons think of God. Also, isn't all the demons, Krishna, Hiranyakashipu was also meditating like that. Who is this Vishnu? Like that. And all the demons that Krishna killed, they were pratikul, they were thinking of Krishna. Even Shishupal, later we'll read about Shishupal, was always blaspheming Krishna from the time he was born. And Krishna had to come and teach him a lesson. There's some pictures here. Yeah. So in this instance, we'll read this first time and then I'll explain later. We'll read this, so it's not long. Narad Muni did not mention Krishna's killing Vyamasura, which means that he was killed on the same day as the Kesi demon. The Kesi demon was killed in the early morning, and after that the boys went to tend the cows on Govardhan Hill. It was there that Vyamasura was killed. Both demons were killed in the morning. Akrura was requested by Kamsa to arrive in Vrindavan by evening. After receiving instructions from Kamsa, Akrura started the next morning via chariot for Vrindavan. Because Akrura himself was a great devotee of the Lord, while going to Vrindavan he began to pray to the Lord. Devotees are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and Akrura was constantly thinking of Lord Krishna's lotus eyes. So in the 9 angas of devotional service, beginning with, what's the first anga of devotional service? Yes? Yes, Shravanam, isn't it? Hearing, Shravanam. And each of these 9 angas were celebrated or glorified for hearing, isn't it? Maharaj Parikshit, he had Srimad Bhagavatam 7 days, 7 nights in rapt attention, isn't it? Knowing that he's going to die within the 7 days by being cursed by a Brahmin boy. So this Shravanam, hearing, and he perfected that art of hearing. And then Kirtanam, Sukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam too, and he's glorified for that. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Vishnu Smaranam. Smarana means always remembering Krishna, Vishnu Smaranam. Do you know who was glorified for that? Yes? Think? We sing every morning. Yes, Prahlad. Prahlad Maharaj, he was tortured by his father and the guards, and all the time he had so much faith that God will always protect him, Vishnu. In so many ways he was put into so many trials and tribulations and threatened with death. But he never, he always remembered God, always remembered Vishnu. Vishnu Smaranam. Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam, Pada means the feet, the lotus feet of Lakshmi Devi. Yeah, Lakshmi. Lakshmi Devi is always at the feet of, massaging the feet of. She never leaves the feet of Narayan. Pada Sevanam. Archanam. Pada Sevanam. Archanam. Archanam. Archanam, what we see. Worship. Worshipping the Lord, isn't it? Archanam. And Maharaj Prithu, we read about Maharaj Prithu in the 4th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. How he restored everything back to normal, isn't it? After the King Vena had destroyed the Brahmanical culture. And, so Maharaj Prithu revived all these things. And, Maharaj Prithu. And Vandanam. So we read Vandanam is this personality, Akrura, offered heartfelt prayers. And here we read about Akrura. He did not know what sort of pious activities he must have performed to gain an opportunity to go and see Lord Krishna, Lord Balaram in Vrindavan on that day. A pure Vaishnava always thinks himself unfit to serve Krishna. So this mood of humility, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that, isn't it? Trinarapi suni chene taravapi saistuna amanena manadena kirtaniya sadar. In this mood of humility. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, the first item of knowledge is amanitvam. Amanitva means humility. You have to cultivate this mood of humility. And that's one of the great hallmarks of a Vaishnava, of a practicing devotee, to develop this mood of humility. And Prabhupada defines humility very nice. He says, one should not have the satisfaction of being honored by others or being praised. One should not have the satisfaction of being praised by others or being honored by others. Generally in the material world we look for that, isn't we? We work hard for that. We kind of strive to get some name and fame, isn't? Some glorification. But devotee remains always humble, like we see here. So Akrura began to think of himself that he was unfit for gaining the transcendental opportunity of seeing the Supreme Godhead. He considered himself as unfit for seeing Krishna, as a materialistic person is for understanding the science of God, or as a fourth-class person, a Sudra, is for studying the Vedas. But then Akrura began to think, by the grace of Krishna, everything is possible. And thus, if he likes, I will be able to see him. That if Krishna likes, if Krishna desires, like same like Arjuna when he wanted to see this universal form, he was requesting Krishna. Not that Arjuna wasn't convinced about Krishna's divinity, but he wanted to, for the sake of other skeptics, would want to challenge God and say, yeah, you spoke all these things in chapter 10, all your Shaktis, and but show, let's see. So Arjuna wanted to set a criterion for those persons who will, like the skeptics, he wanted to see. So Arjuna said, yes, if you desire, you give me that eyes to see this form. Not that Arjuna was challenging God. We don't challenge to see God. Bhaktisiddhanta said we should act in such a way that God sees us. We should not try to see God, but act in such a way that God sees us. That is the height of humility. He said, by the grace of Krishna, everything is possible, and thus, if he likes, I will be able to see him. But just as a blade of grass floating in the waves of a river may be by chance come near the shore and gain shelter, a conditioned soul carried away by the waves of material existence may sometimes be saved by the grace of Krishna. Akrura thus thought that if Krishna willed, he would be able to see him. Akrura considered himself most fortunate that he was going to see Krishna, whom great mystic yogis desire to see. He was confident that on the day all the sinful reactions of his past life would be finished. Jai Sri Sri Radharanath ki, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai. So these prayers by Akrura. He was confident that on the day all the sinful reactions of his past life would be finished and his fortunate human form of life would be successful. Akrura also considered that he was very much favored by Kamsa, who was sending him to bring back Krishna and Balaram. So Akrura went in all innocence. He went as a envoy of Kamsa, although Kamsa had some nefarious ideas about why he wanted the boys there. Of course, we all know that he wanted to have them finally arrange his big wrestling match and by powerful wrestlers and kill them, annihilate them. But Akrura was just feeling some bliss because he was going to see. So Akrura is a devotee. And a devotee has all confidence that God will protect him, that God is invincible, that God cannot be destroyed or killed by any enemy. So this is the devotee. When Arjuna in the past, in the Mahabharata, just before the war, um, Krishna, he spoke to Arjuna and he spoke to Duryodhana. He said, you see me in the morning. Whoever I see first, I will grant them a wish. So both were very excited. Of course, Duryodhana was first. He came early morning. He was there, but he came and stood behind Krishna's head, behind where Krishna was resting, and he was gloating. Yes, I'm first. I will get Krishna, will fulfill my desire. But then Arjuna came much later, and Arjuna came and stood at the feet of Krishna. So when Krishna opened his eyes, who did he see first? Arjuna. Arjuna, although Duryodhana came first, but Krishna saw, when he opened his eyes, he saw Arjuna. So he asked, yes, Arjuna. But Duryodhana was thinking, no, Krishna is being partial. I came first. But when he heard what Arjuna had to say, he got very happy. Arjuna said, I want you, my Lord. I want you. And Krishna said, okay, you can, I will give Duryodhana my army. And Duryodhana was very here. Krishna had his own, the Yadus. So he gave his army to Duryodhana to fight on the enemy side. So likewise, they were very one-sided, this battle. The Kauravas accumulated more, bigger divisions of army, and they had more sophisticated kinds of weapons, and they were more prepared. Whereas the Pandavas were, because they were they were most of the time in exile, and they were ill prepared for this war. But because they had Krishna on the side, and eventually they did win. Then the Pandavas won the battle. And then, of course, Krishna restored, Krishna's desire was to place the Pandavas as the ideal rulers of Dharma in the land. And similarly in the Ramayana also, Ravan had a very powerful, the Rakshasas, and they had all the sophisticated weapons, whereas Ram's army was just made of monkeys and bears, very primitive, and they had very primitive, like rocks and tree trunks and branches. But still they won the war. Still they defeated Ravan. So the divine presence of God is always more powerful than some materialistic power. Similarly, we inculcate that, that's the spiritual power of God. Then we'll always be victorious, irrespective of what. We'll be victorious in our endeavor to practice Krishna consciousness. That Supreme Godhead has now come just like an ordinary human being. And it is my great fortune to be able to see him face to face. Arjuna, Krura thought, he was thrilled with expectations of seeing the very lotus feet which are worshipped by great demigods like Brahma, Narad, and Lord Shiva, which traverse the ground of Vrindavan, and which touch the breasts of the gopis covered with tinges of kumkum. He thought, I am so fortunate I will be able to see those very lotus feet on this day. And certainly I shall be able to see the beautiful face of Krishna, which is marked on the forehead and the nose with tilak. And I will also see his smile and his curling black hair. I can be sure of this opportunity because I see that today the deer are passing on my right side. That's also very auspicious. Certain signs when something goes on your left side, it's inauspicious, and something on your right, like the deer, is mentioned, and you felt very things are auspicious. Similarly, when Arjuna, after he heard of Krishna's past, Arjuna became when Krishna left for the spiritual world, Arjun became very morose. He just became dysfunctional. He could not function properly. and they were questioning, yeah, Arjun, why you look so, did you pass some questionable woman of character? Or did someone pass you on the left side? Did you meet prostitutes? That inauspiciousness? So yeah, these signs. Of course, when signs are there, when demons are born, also when Duryodhana was born, and they said everything was very, the comets and jackals were screeching, owls were very inauspicious. So sometimes we see, change in weather patterns and this gale force winds and this all this kind of tsunami kind of weather. That means demons are taking bath. We can assume that demons are taking bath in this, especially in this Kali Yuga. A lot of demons are taking bath, and we see the anomalies of this world are there. We see big, powerful rulers who are demons in disguise coming, disturbing the peace. So the Lord has to come from time to time, like He says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharat. Whenever there is a decline in religious principle and a rise of our dharma, that's the time I come. Yuge, in every millennium I come. Parichanaya sadhunam, vinasaya chadruskitam. I come to protect my devotees. Parichanaya sadhunam, vinasaya chadruskitam. At the same time, annihilate the miscreants, like Krishna came especially for the purpose of delivering Kamsa and protecting the inhabitants of Rajabhumi and his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, from the clutches of Kamsa. So the Lord comes in different times and different incarnations, but the purpose is the same, to protect is Parichanaya sadhunam, to give pleasure by performing such wonderful leela, to give the devotees pleasure. So Akrura is reminiscing like that. Akrura knew beyond doubt that Lord Krishna is the supreme Vishnu. Lord Vishnu glances over the material energy, and thus the cosmic manifestation comes into being. And although Lord Vishnu is the creator of the material world, he is free by his own energy from the influence of the material energy. By his internal potency, he can pierce the darkness of the material energy. Similarly, Krishna, the original Vishnu, by expanding his internal potency, created the inhabitants of Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita, it is confirmed that the paraphernalia and the abode of Krishna are expansions of his internal potency. The same internal potency Krishna exhibits in Golok Vrindavan is exhibited in the earthly Vrindavan. The earthly Vrindavan is a replica of that spiritual world where Krishna's abode. When Krishna comes, Krishna doesn't come every Kali Yuga or every Dwarpa Yuga. He comes in one day of Brahma. You know what's one day of Brahma? It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, 8 chapters. One day of Brahma is the total of the 4 yugas, times 1,000 yuga cycles. That's a kalpa. That is 4,320,000,000 years. That's his 12-hour day. Or to speak of his 12-hour night. So Brahma, one day is 4,320,000,000 years. One day. And Brahma lives for 100 such years. You can you calculate that. It says something like 311 trillion, 40 billion. Brahma's life. Brahma's 100 years. Of course, time is relative in different planets. Time here and time scale in the higher planes relative to the demigods live much longer, like Brahma lives much longer. So in one day of the Brahma, Lord Krishna appears as himself, because Krishna is always appearing in his multifarious incarnations, isn't? All his expansions, Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, Guna avatars, like Shakti Vaisha avatars, his plenary portions there. But Krishna is the supreme personality of all these. Krishna is the supreme, and Vyasadeva asserts that, isn't? In the Bhagavatam, that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He is the original supreme personality of Godhead. So Akrura is feeling very fortunate to be in the, to see the presence of Krishna face to face. If one wants material happiness like that of the King of Heaven, he can achieve the benedictions from the hands of Krishna. If one wants liberation from the pangs of material existence, he can also get that benediction from the hands of Krishna. And if one in pure transcendental love of Krishna wants personal association and the touch of his transcendental body, he can also gain that benediction from his hand. So Krishna fulfills all desires. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udadi. Whether one wants material desires, whether he wants liberation, by all means he must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udadi. Akrura was afraid, however, because he had been deputed by Krishna, the enemy of Krishna. By Kamsa, the enemy of Krishna. He thought, I am going to see Krishna as a messenger of the enemy. At the same time, he thought, Krishna is in everyone's heart as a super soul, so he must know my heart. Although Akrura was trusted by the enemy of Krishna, his heart was clear. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. He risked becoming Kamsa's deputy just to meet Krishna. He was certain that although he was going as a representative of Kamsa, Krishna would not accept him as an enemy. Even though I am on a sinful mission, being deputed by Kamsa, when I approach the Supreme Person of Godhead, I shall stand before him with all humility and folded hands. Surely he will be pleased with my devotional attitude, and maybe he will smile lovingly and look upon me and thereby free me from all kinds of sinful reactions. I shall then be on the platform of transcendental bliss and knowledge. Since Krishna knows my heart, certainly, when I approach him, he will embrace me. Not only I am a member of the Yadu dynasty, but I am his relative, and an unalloyed pure devotee. So by Akrura is the brother of Devaki, and since Devaki is the mother of Krishna, so Akrura becomes his uncle, mama. Yes, his uncle. It is clearly stated here that one should try to be recognized by the Supreme Person of Godhead by one's service and devotion, without which the human form of life is condemned. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, the Person of Godhead, is equal to everyone. He has no friends and no enemies. But is inclined to a devotee who renders him service with devotional love. The Bhagavad Gita also declares that the Supreme Lord is responsive in proportion to the devotional service rendered by the devotee. Yayatamam prapadyante. As you surrender to me, I reward you accordingly. This is in the 4th chapter, 11th verse. Yayatamam prapadyante. Krishna. So everyone is looking for Krishna in their own way. Everybody is searching for Krishna. Yes, everybody. And Krishna fulfills, according to our surrender, he fulfills our desires. And Krishna also reciprocates with those are his enemies. If somebody comes, then Krishna also takes the role of enemy. Therefore, Krishna loves a fight. Isn't he? Fights, he loves chivalrous. He's very chivalrous. He takes on somebody wants to fight with him. Yeah, let's fight. Like in the pastime, Jai and Vijay, who were devotees, but they were cursed to take birth as demons. And the Lord wants to spot him, so he comes as their enemy. And they come as his enemy in the form of big demons, isn't, to fight. Akrura then thought, when Krishna and Balaram are pleased with my behavior, certainly they will take my hand, receive me within their home, and offer me all kinds of respectable hospitalities. And they will surely ask me about the activities of Kamsa and his friends. In this way, Akrura, the son of Swapalka, meditated on Sri Krishna on his journey from Mathura. He reached Vrindavan by the end of the day. Akrura passed the whole journey without knowing how long it took. When he reached Vrindavan, the sun was setting. As soon as he entered the boundary of Vrindavan, he saw the hoof prints of the cows and Lord Krishna's footprints, impressed with the signs of the souls, the flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus flower. So these impressions are called udipans. It's a nice term describing this in the nectar of devotion. One sees and one gets reminded just by this of the Supreme, like they may see a peacock feather, and what is the first thing they think of? Krishna, isn't it? Krishna spots the peacock feather on his head. Yeah, Akrura is seeing the footprints, and these footprints are the trident. So these are the, what should I say, the nomenclature, the descriptions of the Lord by authorized persons, that not anybody, ordinary person, can come and claim to be God. Isn't? Upstart can claim, like many pseudo incarnations may come. So they must have proof, isn't, of that. And one of the proofs is Krishna's lotus is marked with these. His soul is marked with all these marks, markings of. It says, with the signs of his soul, the flag, the trident, thunderbolt, and lotus flower, these symbols on the souls of the Lord's transcendental transcendental lotus feet are worshipped by all the demigods and other great personalities throughout the three worlds. Upon seeing the footprints of Krishna, Akrura immediately jumped down from the chariot out of respect. He became overwhelmed with all the symptoms of ecstasy. He wept and his body trembled out of extreme jubilation upon seeing the dust touched by the lotus feet of Krishna. Akrura fell flat on his face and began to roll on the ground. And Prabhupada comments on that. He says here, Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastimes and activities of the Lord. I don't know if you went to Vrindavan, did you roll on the dust, kiss the ground, shoot some of the sun? Because all this, Vrindavan is Krishna's land, isn't it? His lotus feet is touched everywhere. So pure devotee sees everywhere Krishna's presence. Krishna's presence is there. Like Akrura is seeing, and and he becomes ecstatic. So sometimes, we prematurely, without purified consciousness, we want to enter the Dham, and we may have a different, a culture shock. We say, we want to see Krishna behind some tree, but we will see pigs and dirt and mud, and we'll get the wrong impression, oh, this Vrindavan. You'll see beggars and all kinds of, and you'll think, no, this is not, it can't be Vrindavan. So you're not in a state of readiness to see Vrindavan like that. You're seeing with external consciousness. So best way is to be go with, get the blessings. We have to get blessings to go to. You can't just go and buy a ticket, and you have to get blessings to go to these places, especially by the pure devotees of the Lord. And when you're there, you should hear from them, associate with them, visit all the places of pilgrimage, go on parikrama, Rajmandal parikrama, or Vrindavan parikrama, or Govardhan parikrama. So many wonderful places to see. But one has to go with some authorized person who knows the pastimes and who is pure at heart, pure in consciousness. Otherwise, there's so many other types of persons there. Mayavadis also. And we hear from the wrong source and we get cheated or we get contaminated by such persons. So to hear from a pure devotee. There's many reciters of Bhagavad Katha, and they attract a lot of people also. I've seen pictures of they have this big mela, Bhagavad Katha, or Bhagavad Sapta, whatever they are. And for days they go on, and lots of people come, materialistic persons come, and they think, just being here. But then because they're not hearing from the right source, they're hearing from these personalities who are doing it for money. They're doing it for some monetary gain, making use of. And it doesn't have that effect, that impact, as from hearing from a pure devotee. There's a difference. Right? And so we have to be very careful of that, how we approach the Dhamma. And we can cause so much aparad, Dhamma aparad, Vaishnava aparad, by being offensive. We don't know the etiquette of how to be in the Dham, how to behave in the Dham. And you can get sometimes instant reaction, especially in Vrindavan. It's very intense. You can get instant reaction for some offense. Very purifying, but purifying. Like one goes, I want to go on a shopping expedition. As soon as I go, Loi Bazaar back and buy all your nice things and then go back. Or just go and take bath in the Ganga or Jamuna. He said, you're no better than a has. One is no better than a has or a cattle. We also bathe in these rivers, take the bath. But for a human being to act like that is no better than the Gokara, animal. Yes. Krura's journey is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastime and activities of the Lord. As soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Sri Narottam Thakur has sung in a celebrated song, Visaya Charya Kabe Suda Abha Mana. When my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I shall be able to visit Vrindavan. Actually, one cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by Akrura. When Akrura entered Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in supervising the milking of the cows. Krishna was dressed in yellow garments and Balaram in bluish. Akrura also saw that the eyes were exactly like the beautiful lotus flower that grows during the autumn season. He saw Krishna and Balaram in the spring of their youth, although they had the same bodily features. Krishna was blackish in complexion, whereas Balaram was What color? Whitish. Yes. The only difference in both of them. But both were the shelter of the goddess of fortune. They had well-constructed bodies, beautiful hands, and pleasing faces, and they were strong as elephants. Now, after seeing their footprints marked with flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus, Akrura actually saw Krishna and Balaram face to face. Although they were the most influential personalities, they were glancing at him with smiling faces. Akrura could understand that both Krishna and Balaram had returned from tending cows in the forest. They had taken their baths and were dressed with fresh clothing and garlanded with flowers and with necklaces made of valuable jewels. The bodies were smeared with the pulp of sandalwood. Akrura greatly appreciated the aroma of the flowers and sandalwood and the bodily presence. He considered himself very fortunate to see Krishna, the Supreme Personal Godhead, and his perennial expansion Balaram, face to face, for he knew that they were the original personalities of the creation. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and the cause of all causes. Akrura could understand that the Supreme Personal Godhead had appeared personally for the welfare of his creation, to re-establish the principles of religion, and to annihilate the demons. With the bodily effulgence, the brothers were dissipating all the darkness of the world, as if they were mountains of sapphire and silver. Without hesitating, Akrura immediately got down from his chariot and fell flat, just like a rod, before Krishna and Balaram. Upon touching the lotus feet of the Supreme Personal Godhead, he became overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. His voice choked up, and he could not speak. Due to his transcendental pleasure, incessant torrents of tears fell from his eyes. He remained stunned in ecstasy, as if devoid of all powers to see and to speak. Lord Krishna is very kind to his devotees, raised Akrura with his hand and embraced him. It appeared that Lord Krishna was very much pleased with Akrura. Balaram also embraced Akrura. Then the two lords took him by the hand and brought him to the sitting room, where they offered him a very nice sitting place and water for washing his feet. They also worshipped him with suitable presentations of honey mixed with other ingredients. So this is very interesting. The Lord comes to teach by example how to receive a sadhu. We see that also in the pastime of Sudama. Sudama went to see Krishna in Dwarka because they were very poverty-stricken, and his wife, she packed him some, not even broken rice to take, and wrapped it up. And on his way to Dwarka, and when he arrived in Dwarka, Krishna was so happy to see him, and he took and relished the broken rice, as if like nectar for him, because it came, although it was broken rice, but the mood with which Sudama brought, the mood Krishna says, with love. Whatever you give me, if you give me a fruit, a flower, patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, ye me bhaktya prayachati. He mentions bhakti twice in that verse. That means that the essential ingredient is with love. Whatever you give, we give with love. That means even a poorest person can give, even a child can offer. With the ingredient is with love. With love. So Sudama brought this broken chip rice, but with so much love, and Krishna was relishing it. And Sudama was feeling embarrassed. But then Krishna sat him down, and Rukmini was watching the whole situation, and she was kind of amazed. There's a picture somewhere. It's on that side. Where and Krishna sat him down, bathed his feet, offered him harti. Sudama is a sadhu, he's a brahmana. And Krishna showed, thank you, there's it there. Yad yad acharati shastas tatat eva taro jana. Sayat pramanam kurite lokastat anuvatate. So whatever great men do, common men follow. And whatever standard they set by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So the Lord himself comes to teach Dharma. And sometimes you see a picture of Krishna carrying the shoes of Nanda Maharaj on his head. Isn't it? Krishna. So this is respect for the parents. How we should respect. Krishna showed by that. He would go and offer his obeisances. Although he is the supreme personality of God and playing the part of a baby, he's teaching by Dharma. He's teaching Dharma how to do that. Yeah. When Akrura finished eating, Balaram gave him betel nut and spices, as well as the pulp of sandalwood, just to make him more pleased and comfortable. The Vedic system of receiving a guest was completely observed by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna himself, to teach all others how to receive a guest at home. It's called Atiti Seva. Even a stranger comes. Of course, nowadays we have to be introspective and see strangers may come in different guise, isn't it? Come to rob you also. It is Vedic injunction that even if a guest is an enemy, he should be received as well, so that he does not apprehend any danger from the host. If the host is a poor man, he should at least offer a straw mat as a sitting place and a glass of water, according to his means, to drink. Krishna and Balaram welcomed Akrura in a way just befitting an exalted position. And after Akrura was thus properly received and seated, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna, said, "My dear Akrura, what shall I require from you? I know that you are being protected by Kamsa, who is most cruel and demoniac. His protection is just like the slaughterhouse keeper's protection of animals he will kill in the future. Kamsa is so selfish that he has killed the sons of his own sister. So how can I honestly believe that he is protecting the citizens of Mathura?" This statement is most significant. If the political or executive heads of the state are simply interested in themselves, they can never look after the welfare of the citizens. As Nanda Maharaj spoke to Akrura with pleasing words, Akrura forgot all the fatigue of his day's journey from Mathura to Vrindavan. It's a very interesting point there, Prabhupada. The leaders of society, they're very selfish and they self-centered, egoistic. And this is very much described in the 16th chapter Bhagavad Gita, the divine and the demoniac. And we see Kamsa, he exemplified all these qualities of demoniac nature. Let's read some Kamsa. How much time we got? Yeah. Kamsa is the embodiment of all 6 vices present within the living entity. And this disqualifies us if we have possessed all these vices from having or seeing the Lord or becoming self-realized. Prevents us when we harbor all these qualities. Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsar, Lobha, Ahankar, lust, anger, Mada, madness, Matsarya, illusion, Lobha, greed, Ahankar, false ego. Today we see the leaders, the embodiment of these, isn't so? Leaders of the world, they have all these. They're far cry from the Vedic culture when Maharaj Parikshit in the caliber of Maharaj Prithu, Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was Ram Leela, Ram himself. They're far cry from that. And therefore we see how the people are so unhappy. People are always, this uneasiness. Anytime war will break out, and we see that people are very restless because when uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. This is one of the Shakespeare's. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. They're always thinking, who will come take over from me? Who will be? And they always want to oppress their competition. They don't want competition. They will kill. Like that. Yeah. In contrast to Akrura had all the divine qualities, and therefore was appreciating the Lord, although he was in association with Kamsa, some good fortune. Sometimes, by association, we get contaminated, like we see in the Mahabharata. Great personalities like Bhishma and Dronacharya were revered, very revered personalities. But when Draupadi was being dishonored in the assembly, these powerful, they did nothing. Although they could influence whatever it could influence the decision of Draupadi being humiliated like that. And later, after Bhishma was killed, almost shot by so many arrows, he was lying in the bed of arrows, isn't by Arjuna, and he was waiting for that moment to see Yudhishthira and Krishna, and they all were in line to come pay their last respects to. And of course, he was speaking very philosophically, Bhishma. And Draupadi was in the background, and she was laughing, kind of echoing. And Bhishma noted that, and he said, Draupadi, what's so funny? He said, here, you're talking about Dharma now. Where were you when I was being disturbed? Why didn't you say anything then? Why didn't you say anything then? Yet you could have. And he said, yes, I was eating the food of the enemy, and my blood was contaminated. I was seeing through that vision of contaminated consciousness, and I couldn't see right from wrong. Now I'm full of arrows, and my blood, all that bad blood is gone. I can see clear now. Yeah. Yeah, so it says all it takes for a few good men to do nothing. Then we see atrocities going on. We see every day we see this, the powers that be, they just kind of looking the other way. This is politics. Politics is such a dirty. And Kamsa was also in that mood, and Lord had to come to teach him a lesson. Yes. So Akrura's mission was so many. It brought Krishna, Balaram, and it also increased the killing of Kamsa, and it brought that to an end. And Krishna eventually freed his parents from the prison. And they said, "You all are big boys now. You all must go to school." The Krishna and Balaram had to go to Gurukul in Ujjain. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Krishna Book ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? So remember Akrura's mood of how to approach Vrindavan. And try and emulate that mood. Whenever, if we don't in that mood, we should develop that mood. Whenever we decide to go to remember this, how Akrura approached the holy Dham, with full respect, reverence. Haribol. Thank you.